Hey everyone, and welcome to another tutorial brought to you by the Minecrafters. I'm Captain Jack, and in this block spotlight series we'll be unraveling GregTech one machine at a time and showing you some in-game applications along the way. GregTech adds a ton of awesome machines and a complexity to the game that may make you want to pull your hair out. Gregor designed this add-on to balance the modded Minecraft experience and make the game more challenging and long. Once added into your game, GregTech's configuration files will override many of Industrial Craft 2's current recipes, as well as recipes from other mods, making some previously easy-to-craft machines much more difficult to make. If you love the additions GregTech brings to the table but don't like the recipe changes, feel free to change your own configuration files as you see fit to adjust your personal gameplay difficulty or take GregTech out entirely. Crying about how hard it is won't do anybody any good. So sit back, relax, and get ready for an information inoculation in this episode of our GregTech Block Spotlight series. Enjoy. Episode 7 is going to be all about the industrial blast furnace. This large multi-block structure will allow you to create some of the most advanced endgame ingots such as steel and tungsten steel. Let's take a look at how this machine works. Now, because this machine is a multi-block structure, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to make. The original block, or the starting block, is the industrial blast furnace. It's just one block. You can place it and put it down, but it will not operate on its own. The materials needed to make this are 2 electronic circuits, 2 induction furnaces, and one of these 3 machine hulls or the advanced machine block. So you can use steel, advanced machine block, or you can use a titanium machine hull. Now it's also going to take 4 of these copper nickel heating coils, and to make these, it's going to take 4 copper and either ferrous or nickel in a pattern like this. Now you'll note that you're only going to get 3 of these, so you're going to have to make 2 of these recipes in order to complete the industrial blast furnace block. You can move this around with a regular IC2 wrench or an electric wrench from IC2. Just bear in mind that you must have this on lossless mode, otherwise you have a chance of getting machine parts back for this block here, and that's something you just don't want to do or get from this machine. The prototype Omni wrench, which I will always recommend, can pick this machine up in permanent lossless mode, and you'll never lose the components of it, and it will never turn into machine parts. Now the basic GUI of this industrial blast furnace, it's fairly simple. Right here we have a grid that tells us exactly how to build the multi-block structure. This little green box being the actual industrial blast furnace block, and then we'll have the casings and lava in the center, and I'll show you how to assemble this machine in just a second. We have 2 input slots here. We have a block that we can press to see all the recipes that this machine can make, and we have 2 output slots over here. Now, I don't have any machine casings attached to this block, so it's going to say incomplete machine casing, and it will show a little red circle on the front of the machine. When it's complete, the circle is going to turn to green. Now, there's 3 different types of machine casings that you can use in this machine, and they each provide a different level of heat that is necessary to smelt these ores. If you don't have enough heat to smelt a certain ore, the furnace is not going to work. So your regular standard casing is going to require either 6 refined iron or aluminum plates and 1 of these machine casings or machine blocks and 2 electronic circuits. And each one of these patterns is going to give you 4 standard machine casings. And that holds true with each of the 3. Now bear in mind, you're going to need 9 recipes to make a total of all 34 casings. And it's going to give you a few more because the recipe is odd, just like those copper nickel heating coils. Now, the reinforced machine casings are going to require steel, which can only be made with this machine. So you're not going to be able to start off with this, so don't try to go straight for the reinforced. It's going to take 2 advanced circuits and either titanium, steel, or an advanced machine block to make 4 reinforced machine casings, and those are more advanced. Now, the last and final type of machine casing is advanced, and I really can't think of a good reason why you would ever use advanced casing on this machine. But if you so choose, you can take 6 chrome plates, 2 data control circuits, and a highly advanced machine block. And since chrome is so valuable, I really wouldn't recommend wasting it on a machine like this, because it's going to require even more chrome to make the highly advanced machine block. But that's how you make all 3. Each of the standard heat casings gives you 30 heat, each of the reinforced gives you 50, and each of the advanced gives you 70. And we'll go over what that means in a second. Now here I've provided a little cross section of the machine. As you can see, it's 4 levels high, and there is lava in the center too. If you look at the top, it's a solid layer of 9 machine casings, as well as the bottom. And in the middle, there's a circle of 8 machine casings that can be left hollow, or you can put lava inside. And I'll go over the importance of that in just a second. Let's take a look at a little bit better view of this machine. All right, in case that first demonstration was too difficult to understand how it works, I've laid it out very nicely for you, just like this. Level 1, as you can see there in the bottom, is a solid 9 block layer, and that's going to be the level that you have to put the industrial blast furnace block, and you see it just lit up there with fire. The middle 2 are going to have to be hollow, and they can be left hollow, or again, you can put lava in the center, and we'll go over that in a minute. And level 4, which is the top level of the machine, is another solid 9 layer platform of machine casings, and it's going to need 34 total to make this whole machine. All right, very quickly, let's take a look at some of the recipes that this machine can make. Now, there's only 14 pages, so it's not really a lot, but you can put regular iron ore and a calcium carbonate cell, and we know how to get those already because we knew how the electrolyzer and centrifuge work, and that will give you 3 straight refined iron from an iron ore. Refined iron and coal dust will get you steel, and steel is going to be an extremely important resource moving forward. The heat capacity will tell you how much heat is required inside your industrial blast furnace to make this steel ingot or to smelt it. And it's going to tell you how long it takes to smelt one at default speed. Tungsten and steel can be combined to make hot tungsten steel ingots, and those are very advanced, and you'll need those later on for plasma generators. You can use this pyrite ore, which is a new ore that GregTech adds, and it's only in the nether, and you can combine it with calcium carbonate to give you 2 refined iron and an empty cell. Tungsten and steel can be combined again to make hot tungsten steel. You can smelt aluminum into aluminum ingots here for 1700 heat. You can smelt titanium into titanium ingots for 1500 heat. And you can smelt chrome into chrome ingots for 1700 heat. Tungsten is going to be one of the longest recipes at 100 seconds and a heat capacity of 2500 to make 1 tungsten ingot. Okay, so these are just a few recipes that you can use. Galena will turn into lead. Silver, silicon will turn into silicon plate and empty cells. Okay, so it's a pretty versatile machine, but one of the basically the most important recipe is steel and these other tungsten recipes. All right, so what do these machine casings do, and how do we know if we have enough heat inside of our industrial blast furnace to smelt what we need to smelt? Well, this here is a standard machine casing industrial blast furnace. It has, it does have lava in the middle. And if I take that out, okay, it's hollow. Still works. If I remove one of these blocks, it's going to go red, so you'll be able to tell if your structure is not complete. Okay, there's a total of 10,020 heat inside of this, and this is the absolute minimum amount of heat that you can get away with inside of the structure. Now, luckily, steel only requires 1,000 heat to make it, so you really don't need much to get started with this machine, as long as you have the casings. Now, you could add lava to the center, and as you can see here, this one has lava, and it will bring the total heat up to 1520K heat, and that's because we have 2 lava source blocks inside of this machine. Now, don't think you can cheat and just put 1 bucket on the top and have it flow down into the second box. That does not work. Just make sure you have 2 lava source blocks. Flow blocks don't count, see? So each bucket is going to add 250 to the max heat for a total of an extra 500 heat at very little cost. So that's going to jump your blast furnace up a little bit hotter. Now, the maximum amount of heat that you can have inside a blast furnace is 3,880K heat. And you actually don't need that much heat for any reason because none of the recipes require up to that much heat yet. So this is the advanced machine casings here. Again, don't really want to use those for this machine, but you can. Also note that you can place up to 4 industrial blast furnace blocks on the same machine casing. So I have 1, 2, 3, and I could put another one here, and it would give me the maximum number of machine casings of industrial blast furnaces. I can't put it here. It's got to be in the middle. You can see this one is going to light up. There we go. Okay, it's got a happy face. There we go. So that's how you set up this machine, and that's how you play with the heat. Now, you can actually mess around with the casings on this machine. So right now we're at 1020. If I step up one of these blocks with a reinforced machine casing, it's going to bring it up to 1040. And you can pick and choose whatever you happen to have on hand. If you have a couple extra left over, you can use any blocks that you want to assemble this machine. Doesn't have to be pretty, doesn't have to be in any sort of order. That's that. All right, in order to get more heat inside of your industrial blast furnace, you're going to want to install more of these heating coils. Now, it took copper nickel heating coils to build the machine itself, and it's going to take Kanthal and nichrome heating coils to give you that extra bonus or extra jump in heat that you're going to need for high-tech or high-level smelting. Kanthal heating coils can be added 4 at a time to increase the industrial blast furnace's internal heat by 500, and nichrome can be added only after you've already added 4 Kanthal heating coils to your blast furnace for an additional 500 heat. So if you put both of these in here, you're going to get an extra 1,000 heat right off the bat. Now, let's just install these into one of these blast furnaces. I'll just put a new one down. Okay, it's going to say incomplete machine casing. Actually, let me just delete that. Let's put a new one down there. Okay, so we're going to try to install nichrome first. It's not going to work. You see I try to right click, it opens a GUI instead. I want to take Kanthal, right click. Now it's put inside the machine. It's increased my heat. And I want to do nichrome next. Right click. And it's going to bring it up to 3200. So that's how you install those. Now bear in mind, once you install them, you're never going to get them back. So make sure that you're very careful when picking up and moving this machine around. If you do move it around, all the heating coils are still going to stay inside of it. Just don't get them mixed up in your inventory. Now the required default power for this machine is 128 EU per tick. And if the industrial blast furnace does not get a steady 128 EU per tick, then the progress bar will return to 0, and it's just going to keep sucking EU out of your system until you finally give it enough. So you're going to want to make sure that you have either a dedicated line to this or you have enough power flowing through your network so that it doesn't shut off. Here I have a very simple MFE running straight into my industrial blast furnace, and you can see that it's working just fine. It's taking coal dust and refined iron and making this steel ingot, which is what we'll need for the next level of awesome in GregTech. And it's only doing it on 1020 heat. Now you can install upgrades into this machine so that if you're worried about power lines that have more than 128 EU per tick running through them, you can give it transformer upgrades. Let's just take a look at the upgrade board real quick and find out what we can put inside this machine. If you mouse over the industrial blast furnace, you'll notice that it will tell you that the max EU per tick input on default is 128 EU per tick, and the possible upgrades available are OTBM. O standing for overclocker upgrade, T standing for transformer upgrade, B for battery upgrade, which allows it to contain more EU, and M for buildcraft upgrade, or pneumatic generator upgrade, which will allow this machine to take buildcraft power. If you install an overclocker in this machine, be very careful because it's going to massively increase the power consumption, but it will double the speed at 4 times the power. The transformer upgrade, you can apply one of these to this machine to bring it up to total max EU per tick input to 512, and then you can install HV transformer upgrades only after you've put in that transformer upgrade to further increase the amount of EU per tick that this machine can take up to 8,192. The energy storage upgrade will increase the internal storage by 10,000. The lithium battery upgrade will increase the internal storage by 100,000 EU. The pneumatic generator upgrade, as we already said, will allow this machine to take MJ, and the redstone energy cell upgrade will allow this machine to hold more MJ in its internal storage. Now automating this machine is fairly simple. Oh, you can use a GregTech sensor kit up there to display the progress. They're all pretty useless, but you can do it. The inputs and outputs are very much similar to the rest of the GregTech machine line. The input slot for the top up here is naturally going to be at the top, and the input slot for the bottom right here is going to be on the bottom of the machine. And you can output from any of the sides. Here's just a quick example of how I've automated it with Applied Energistics. Notice I have my power line running in here. I have an export bus in the top, filling the top slot, an export bus in the bottom, filling the bottom slot, and I have an import bus here on the side, bringing it back into the system. And if I take this out, it's going to fill up very nicely. And if the machine actually had power and the machine casing was complete, this machine would just start working, and it would just make steel ingots for me. Alright, before we move on to the last quick live build of this machine, let's take a look at the upgrades and how you install them. Basically, it's the same as the heating coils. If you right-click with a portable scanner, it will tell you all the information about the machine. Now, as we said before, this can take one transformer upgrade, so if I right-click and add it into the machine, it's going to bring it to 512. And I can't add any more. I want to add HV transformer upgrades, to bring it to 2048, and then one more to bring it to 8192. Now you'll notice that the contained energy is 0 of 10,000 right now. If I add a lithium battery upgrade, that will bring it to 110,000. And if I add a bunch more, you can see how that changes. And it's going to say at the bottom left, 3 transformers and 7 lithium battery upgrades. Keep in mind, once you put these inside the machine, you are not going to be able to get them back. So if you accidentally overclock this machine and your network cannot handle it, I'm sorry, but you're out of luck. Go for those machine parts. All right, let's build one of these really quickly. What I have here is a thermal generator, which we've already learned about, hooked up to an MFE, and we're going to put this down. We'll hook that up to power. It hasn't exploded yet, so that's a good thing. We're going to take these regular standard machine casings. Okay, we're going to fill in the bottom layer. We're going to leave this layer hollow. And then we're going to build one more layer on top. Now let's go ahead and get that lava bucket. We want to make sure that, don't just do that, it won't fill up both. I know I've already said that. You want to fill up the bottom, then the middle, and then put that last machine casing on there. And you are ready to go. You can go ahead and put refined iron and coal, and you are starting on your mission to awesomeness, okay? So this is a really simple setup, the most basic, a fusion reactor. The most basic of setups for this machine is going to allow you to make steel, which in turn is going to allow you to make some of those awesome other items that you've been wanting to make ever since you saw how awesome they were. That didn't make any sense, but anyways, guys, make sure you check us out on all of our social media outlets, and as always, stay poised.